I thought it would be helpful to talk about working out / running on the ship. One of the videos that I was looking for before we went on our cruise was kind of videos about working out on the ship and what it was like to run on the ship. I had watched enough videos to know there was like a walking, jogging track on deck 4, but I really hadn't seen any videos about like what it was like to run on the ship and, you know, was it really busy or what time of day did I need to worry about it, that kind of thing. And so I did some searching and really didn't find a lot of content around that. So I thought it'd be helpful to have a video that was just specifically about working out on our Disney cruise. So I was going to talk first about the fitness center. I actually only worked out twice in the fitness center. I had planned it to have more running days than what I call my off days, but the days that I don't run, those are days that I usually will do like a stationary bike, a spinning bike, an elliptical, you know, some other kind of form of workout to work out different muscles than maybe I'm working out when I am running. So the fitness center opens at 6 a.m. every morning. The 2 mornings I worked out in the fitness center, I was there right when it opened. I was there with the same group of people. It looked like they were probably opening the fitness center every day as well. And it's located on the Fantasy, it's located on deck 11, right by Senses Spa. It's actually technically inside Senses Spa. So you kind of walk through the spa and then go directly into the fitness center. The fitness center didn't start getting really busy until about 6:30, 7 o'clock. That was kind of when it would really pick up and get pretty full of people. I wanted to talk a little bit about the equipment that they have. I can't remember the name of the brand, but it was nice equipment. It took a little bit of getting used to run that stationary bike. It was different than what I was used to and what we have at our fitness center here in our building. But it was nice equipment. They had just 2 bikes, but they had several treadmills. They even had the kind of treadmills with like the really thick tread that kind of like arch. I don't really know what those are called. I've never tried one of those. They had elliptical machines, they had stair machines, they had a rowing machine, they had all kinds of different like weight machines. So like the weight circuit style where you, like not free weights necessarily, but kind of the more resistant type weights. And then they also had a huge free weights section. It looked like they did have spinning bikes, but those were reserved for classes. They had a few classes that they offered for like a nominal charge. I didn't do any of the classes, but you're not allowed to use the spinning bikes, I think, unless you were in a class, which is a little bit of a bummer because I do like to use a spinning bike over a stationary bike. But since I only had 2 days that I planned to use the bike, it wasn't that big of a deal for me. On the Fantasy, it looks out over the side of the ship. So you just have this like gorgeous sprawling like ocean views where you could kind of watch the sun rising. It was really lovely. The environment there was really nice. I think they did have music playing, but I was listening to my AirPods. So I had made a Disney mix for all the days that I worked out on the ship. And then they also had a water bottle filler / kind of water fountain thing. They also had a couple of those on deck 4. So those were the only places on the ship that I found like water bottle fillers that were specifically kind of for filling your water bottle. There might have been others. That was the only indoor one I found was the fitness center. I did pop in there a couple of different afternoons to fill up my water bottle because it was nice to know that was there. We also used the ones on deck 4 as well. So I think that was about it for the fitness center. I didn't spend, again, a lot of time in there. I really only planned to do 2 days in there. I don't love to work out in a fitness center, but I do it on my non-running days. I did want to avoid having to run on the treadmills at all cost. So that brings me to running, which is what I did for most of the trip. I ran on deck 4. I loved running on deck 4. That was wonderful. So one thing is I'm an early bird. I work out very early in the morning. So most of the mornings that I ran out on deck 4, it was 5:30, 6 o'clock when I started running. So there weren't a lot, like the ship wasn't really, up and about yet. Most people were in bed. So I didn't see a lot of other cruisers. There were a couple of people, I think on 1 or 2 of the days that I ran, there was at least one other runner. So I wasn't alone on all of the days. And there were a couple of people that were walking as well. So some people are out there just kind of walking, getting their daily exercise in. And then there were a few other runners besides myself across the different days. There was one morning I was alone for pretty much the whole run, which was really nice. It is, pretty easy to count the laps going around. However, it's very easy because it's 2.5 laps on the Fantasy and on the Dream for a full mile. I think it's maybe 4 laps on the smaller ships. I can't remember exactly, but it's posted. So it'll tell you like this is 2.5 laps equals a mile, which is a pro. That's really nice. The con was it was really easy to lose count of your laps. I lost count a lot. So I did really try super hard to remember and to count as I was going around, but you're going around so many times that you kind of just sort of lose it after a while and you just sort of daze. If you use like a GPS watch, it may or may not keep up with you. On my first couple of runs, my watch did great. It kept up with me just fine. And I knew that because I knew that 2.5 laps equaled a mile, and my watch was basically saying, hey, you reached a mile once I had reached 2.5 laps. And I kept up with my laps enough to know that my watch was keeping up as well. And it was keeping me at an average pace that I'm pretty used to, that when I run at home, I keep at that pace as well. So I felt confident in trusting my watch. So when I got lost on my lap count, it wasn't too big of a deal because I was able to rely on my watch. However, on one of the days, I don't know if it was the motion of the ocean because it was one of the like rougher mornings or what it was, but my watch did not count my miles correctly, and I had to really, really focus on counting my laps. So something to consider if you are going to run on deck 4, if you're someone who likes to monitor your pace and or your, mile count and those kinds of things, just know that your watch may or may not work for you. When I started my runs, the sun wasn't up yet, so it was just kind of vast darkness around me. But once the sun started coming up, it was really beautiful. There was even one day I had taken my phone with me because I don't usually take my phone when I run, but I did take it that day, hoping that I might catch the sunset, and I did. And I took some really cool photos of the sun coming up, and that was really fun to watch that come up over the horizon. The wind was really nice. It was really strong and powerful, especially as you were like running forward, but it felt really nice. And I always love running with the wind or the breeze on me. Of course, I live here in Chicago, and I'm pretty used to running in the wind pretty much all the time. So it's not, I'm pretty used to it. And so I like it. It's like running at home. And lastly, it was just really, really fun. It was so much fun to run on the ship. Really loved that I had the ability to do that. So running on deck 4 for me was a huge win, a huge pro, would absolutely do it again. So that was kind of how I ran on the ship. And it worked out really nicely. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is Castaway Cay. So they do have the Castaway Cay 5K. I had kind of planned or wanted to do that. The 5K is a little bit of a short run for me. I run a little longer than that, but I still thought it would be really fun to do. However, the Castaway Cay 5K has changed. From what I understand, prior to COVID, they basically would gather all of the 5K runners. You effectively registered for it when you got on the ship, and then they would gather all the 5K runners who were registered, and they would be the first people to leave the ship. You would kind of be not escorted is a little dramatic, but you would get to go over to the start of the 5K, and then you effectively ran it kind of more like a formal race. They actually had like kind of a start, and you kind of all took off together and you go. They don't do that anymore, so they took that away. I decided I didn't want to run the Castaway Cay 5K as a result of that, because it's a much more go at your own pace. You just kind of, when you get off the ship, when you get there, you just kind of start running the 5K. We did see some people who were doing it, but it's not formal. It's not, kind of really a race anymore. So I just wasn't interested in doing that. We instead walked the 5K. So when we were on Castaway Cay, we just kind of walked the route of the 5K and did it that way so that we could still get to enjoy, participating in the 5K. We just didn't do it as a run. And then we still got our medals, which was also fun. So that's about all that I had. I just wanted to kind of cover what it was like to work out on the ship, what it was like to run on the ship, specifically running on deck 4 rather than on a treadmill, because it is an option. And I noticed a lot of people, I think, didn't realize it was an option. So I think it's important that people know that, because it was a lot of fun. It was definitely more fun than running on a treadmill for sure. And we actually saw people running all day long, not just in the mornings. We saw people running in the afternoons as well. Hopefully this video was helpful. I know it was something I was looking for when we were heading out on our cruise, so I wanted to take some time just to put something out there to let people know that how they can work out and what it's like. So if you like this video, please feel free to give a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you've worked out on the ship and what your thoughts have been. If you're somebody who's been on the Wish, I'd love to hear your experience, because from my understanding, the Wish does not have a full lap around the ship. So I'd love to hear about that. And go ahead and subscribe to our channel if you'd like more content like this, and ring the bell to be notified for latest videos.